Happy Monday to you fellas. Now, you know this will be the most videos I've done in a single month since August of last year, August 2020. Yeah, this will be the most videos I've done in a single month. I think it's my eighth. Yeah, this is my eighth video this month. That's back to the old days. If you remember, I said between roughly April of 2017, which was my first month on YouTube, and August of last year, I did an average of 8 to 10 videos per month. But then starting with September, I said I was going to do no more than an average of 3 videos a month. Yeah, I said I was going to do an average of 3, no more than absolute most 4 videos a month. But yeah, this is my 8th video. This will be the most videos I've done in a single month since August of last year. I didn't necessarily plan on doing this video, but I'm kind of responding to a couple things that people there's been the two main things I'm talking about in this video. One is there's been recent talk about dating coaches and PUAs being exposed for being frauds. Being exposed for being frauds. And my good brother, Reg, the bad guy, I call him the king of YouTube opinion polls. He's the king of YouTube opinion polls, at least in the black manosphere. He does a lot of YouTube opinion polls related to issues and discussion topics in the black manosphere and personalities from the black manosphere. But he did an upload, I want to say roughly, a week ago, a little under a week ago, where he addressed that, and a few other people have too. This is not only a black manosphere thing, this is the worldwide manosphere. There's like kind of in the last, I don't know, I'd say 1 month, 2 months, a little longer, some people have been going after trying to expose those dating coaches and pickup artists that they feel are complete frauds. And speaking of Reg Bad Guy, one thing he said in the defense of yours truly, he said, excuse me, I just burped. He said, if there's one dating coach who I feel is totally legit and could never, ever be exposed, is Alan Roger Currie. He basically went on to say, Alan Roger Currie been doing this thing for like 20 years and nobody has yet to expose him as some type of fraud. And so in this video, I'm going to address why. Matter of fact, on a quick side note, if you notice, in my little philosophical battle with the young brother named who goes by the Saint in the Center, Marquise Devon Burton, did you notice he changed his title? It was something that was trivial but yet significant. Trivial but yet significant. Yeah, he changed. His original title was Mo 1 Doesn't Work - Alan Roger Currie Exposed. That was his original title. Mo 1 Doesn't Work - Alan Roger Currie Exposed. Then a couple days later, he changed it to just simply Mo 1 is wrong. Okay, yeah. Now it's just simply called Mo 1 Approach is wrong. And he got wrong in capital letters. Mo 1 Approach is wrong. But he doesn't have Alan Roger Currie exposed. What can you expose about me? Seriously, what can you expose about me? Shit, I've offered many times. I've offered people money to say if you can find something that quote unquote exposes me, as far as some type of that will fall in the category of me being fraudulent, shit, I'll pay people money. Real talk. And the secondary thing I want to talk about is, and really, this is something I just covered like, 3 videos ago? I covered the concept of tricking for at least the 3rd or 4th time in the last 4 years. But I had a couple guys, not many, just a couple guys, 3 guys including my consultation session. I had a consultation session today where a guy brought up, how did we get on the subject of trick? Well, the first 2 guys, they wrote me, they said, hey, Alan, what do you think about this so-called philosophical war between the tricks and the game dudes? The tricks and the game dudes. Number one, I didn't know it was a so-called war. Even if it's philosophical. This guy said philosophical war. I didn't know there was a philosophical war between game dudes and guys who are proponents of tricking and whining and dining. Speaking of that, and see, this is the part I covered in a recent video, so I'm definitely repeating myself here. Here's the thing, man, and I gotta let my alter ego, Mr. Pedantic, come out. One thing I notice about a lot of young brothers, man, they call any form of spending money on a woman tricking. And I covered that again in a video I just did like a week ago or so. There's a lot of guys here on YouTube, more specifically black guys. There's probably a few non-black guys who do it too, but definitely black guys. They consider any form of spending money on women as tricking. That is false. I'm going to lay it out for the upteenth time. That's false. That's not a trick, man. Just because you spend money on women does not mean you tricking. Tricking, you got to have balls to trick in a nutshell. You pretty much got to have the same balls to trick that you got to have to be Mo 1. Like, for example, inviting a woman out to dinner and paying for a woman's meal, that ain't tricking. That's whining and dining. That ain't tricking. Tricking is when you got the balls to go up to a woman and say, hey, I'll pay you $50 if you suck my dick this afternoon. Do most of y'all who spend money on women get the balls to say that to a woman straight up? You know you don't. You know you don't. So don't call yourself a trick. You insulting other tricks, true tricks. A trick is a motherfucker that got the ball. To be a trick, you got to be specific and straightforward with women about the fact that you are offering them money in exchange for their sexual companionship. That's a trick. If you ain't being specific or straightforward, similar to Mo 1, you ain't no trick, motherfucker. You ain't no trick. Because you don't have the balls to be a trick. A true trick is a guy that would walk up to a woman, say on the street, and say, I'll give you $150 if you let me fuck you for the next 2 hours. How many of y'all got them type of balls? You know you don't. You know you don't. So quit calling yourself a fucking trick. You're a whiner and diner, or what my frat brothers used to call an ice creamer. Our nickname for whining and dining was ice creaming. We say, oh man, like if some guy told us he took a woman out to dinner a couple times with the hopeful expectation that he was going to get some pussy, we say, oh, you ice creaming that hoe. That's what we called it in the frat when I was in college, my fraternity brothers. We called it ice cream. We said, oh, you ice creaming that hoe. We didn't say you tricking. We said you ice creaming that hoe. Nah, that's the difference between tricking and whining and dining. Again, that's when you do something like take a woman out to lunch, take a woman out to dinner, and just show some degree of financial generosity with a woman with the hopeful, confident and hopeful expectation that she's going to reward you with pussy. That's whining and dining, bro. That ain't tricking. That's whining and dining. In other words, When you're whining and dining, there's two differences between that and tricking. Well, technically three. Number one, whining and dining is legal. That's the first and foremost. It's legal. Number two, whining and dining, you're not specific or straightforward about the fact that you want sex from a woman. You're not specific or straightforward about the fact that you want sex from a woman. You're very vague and ambiguous. In some cases, you don't even bring up the subject of sex during your conversation with the woman. You're just fingers crossed, hoping that she's going to give you some pussy because you were financially generous with her. That's whining and dining, man. So that's number two difference. You're not specific or straightforward. Number three, there's no guarantee that you're going to get the pussy. That's why in my last video I said whining and dining can easily transition into simping. Simping is when you spend money on women that you got less than a 1% chance of actually fucking. That's simping. Simping is when you spending money being financially and materialistically generous with women that you have less than a 1% chance of actually fucking. That's simping. So, first off, a lot of you guys who talk about tricking, y'all don't know what true tricking is. Facts. Y'all don't know what true tricking is. And number two, most of you guys who on YouTube talking about tricking, y'all ain't got the balls to be a real, true, bona fide trick. If you ain't laying it out specifically and straightforwardly to a woman, hey, I'm going to give you this amount of money if you suck my dick or let me fuck you or whatever, you ain't no true trick. And depending on where you live, tricking is always, you run the risk of being arrested for that shit. That's the biggest risk involved with tricking. Again, depending on what city you live in. Some cities it's legal. But in most cities around the world, tricking's illegal, man. It's illegal. If there ain't no legal risk, then it ain't tricking. So just stop all this noise about tricking, man. Really. Stop all this noise about tricking. Most of y'all ain't got the balls to be a real trick. None of y'all motherfuckers, man, talking all this shit about tricking. Y'all ain't got the balls to be no damn trick. Tricking is essentially the same thing as being Mo One Hardcore, only you offering money. That's really, in a nutshell, what tricking is. Real tricking. Not fake tricking. Real tricking. Real tricking is when you're essentially Mo One Hardcore with a woman, with the only difference being you're offering money to a woman. Versus I don't offer no. And then speaking of offering money, I didn't hear it myself, but one of my followers said that some notable black male YouTube content creator recently said to do it tricking. I don't want to misquote the guy, so I'm going to be paraphrasing. But supposedly, some fairly popular black male YouTube content creator said that all men trick with their money or their time. All men, not most men, some men. He said all men, when it comes to getting casual sex from a woman, is going to trick with one or two things. They either tricking with if they're not tricking with money, they tricking with their time. That is fucking false. Whoever said that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Give me your number and I'll tell you directly. If you that content creator who said some stupid shit like that. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. Talking about all men trick with their time and their money. I don't trick with either. That's why I wrote to do with not tricking with time. That's the whole reason I wrote No Free Attention and the possibility of sex. That's the whole fucking reason why I'm Mo One. if y'all ain't got that yet. That's the whole purpose of being Mo One. Is not to invest a significant amount of time or money in the pursuit of casual sex. That's the whole reason why I'm fucking Mo One. I don't be spending a bunch of hours with a woman trying to get no casual sex. The fuck you talking about? I tell women straight up, I want to fuck you. I'm going to fuck you. And they either say yeah or nay. What's that? What kind of investment of time you talking about? Now, if you're talking about 5, 10, 15 minutes, yeah. I'll invest time with that if you're including that. But if you're talking about hours or days or weeks or months, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's the difference between Mo 1 and Mo 2 and Mo 3. Mo 1, you just straight up with the shit, man. You ain't trying. Again, that's the whole reason why I wrote these two books, The Possibility of Sex and No Free Attention. I don't believe in investing no time to get no casual. Now, long-term relationship, yes. I've always said that. Now, if we're talking about a long-term relationship, like, you're looking at a woman as as a potential long-term girlfriend or future wife, then that's when I would agree with that. If you're going after a woman that you want a long-term relationship with, yeah, you're going to have to invest one of those two things, if not both. You're going to have to invest some degree of time spent with that woman non-sexually, and or you're going to have to invest some degree of money. That's almost inevitable when you're in pursuit of a woman's long-term romantic companionship. So if we're talking about long-term romantic companionship, then that's when I would say I don't have no disagreement with that. Because in order to be in any long-term relationship, you got to spend time with a woman both sexually and non-sexually. That's just the nature of a long-term relationship. You got to spend time with her both sexually and non-sexually. That's the nature of any long-term relationship. So yeah, but if you're talking about a fuck buddy, a woman that's just your casual lover / fuck buddy, oh, fuck no. I don't be spending no time with no woman non-sexually for no casual fucking sex. Fuck no, unless a woman pay me. Speaking of paying, see, I want to ask some of you guys a question who are all proponents of this whole spending money on women and tricking, whining and dining, whatever. Do y'all value your dick? Straight up question. I ain't trying to be funny. Do you value your dick? Because see, this brother right here, I believe a woman should be paying me for my dick. Real talk. Call me egotistical, which a lot of women have. Call me egotistical if you want to. I believe a woman should be paying me for my motherfucking dick. You see the son I produced? You see how good looking he is? My sperm is valuable, motherfucker. My sperm is valuable. Period. Yeah, that sounds egotistical to the motherfucker. I said it. I'll double down on it. My sperm is valuable. I ain't just gonna be giving no bitch my sperm, access to my sperm, and she can potentially get pregnant off my shit and get a good-looking kid just on a whim? Shit, fuck that. Are you serious? All y'all be on here talking about men first. Men first, men are the prize. Then why you paying women for sex then if you the prize? You ain't no prize if you paying women for sex. You ain't no prize? Whose prize are you paying women for sex? How can you be a proponent of tricking and say that men are the prize? If you're offering to pay women for their pussy, which means you automatically telling a woman her sexual companionship is more valuable and desirable than your own, then how are you the fucking prize? Answer me that. How are you the fucking prize? I'm the prize, motherfucker. I've had sugar mamas that I charged them for my sexual and non-sexual companionship. Drops mic. Boom. Damn right I did. Because I look at my dick as valuable. Do you value your dick is the question. I value my dick. I feel like my dick is just as desirable and valuable, if not more so than any woman's pussy. Drops mic again. Boom. Shit. I'm cocky to the motherfucker, man. When I first got on YouTube, if you've been a long time following me, what's one of the things I said in my early videos? I don't know the exact date. It was either in April or May of 2017. Right? I did a video. I remember. I can't remember the title, but I remember this video. I said, this was probably one of the first times I addressed the whole idea of spending money on women and tricking and whining and dining. I said, it's one thing if you occasionally indulge in tricking and whining and dining. I basically said, I ain't gonna hold that against you. But I said, if the only way you can score casual sex, something I touched on in my very last video about alphas and beta males, I said, if the only way you can score casual sex from a woman, period, and more specifically a woman that's a 6 or above, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, is the only way you can score casual sex from them is by spending money on them, then I was basically like, you are missing something in the looks department and or the mouthpiece department. You deficient in one of those two areas, if not both. You ain't got it going on when it comes to your looks, or you ain't got it going on in terms of your mouthpiece, or both. I said that when I first got on YouTube. I said, if the only way you can score casual sex from a woman, particularly a woman that's beautiful and sexy, like no lower than a 6 and as high as a 10, if that's the only way you can get casual sex from them is by spending money on them, then either, sorry, hate to bruise your ego, but either looks-wise, something about you is highly unappealing. Real talk. Looks-wise, you got something going on that's highly unappealing. Or, if not something wrong with your looks, your mouthpiece is non-existent. You ain't got no smooth, seductive, persuasively charming mouthpiece. Period. I ain't had to spend no money on no bitches for casual sex, with the exception of women who don't speak English. That's the only time I really tricked with a woman, is women who were from other countries that didn't speak English. But other than that, man, I don't be tricking, or really, I don't wine and dine women, unless they women I look at as girlfriend material. Only women I've even wined and dined were women that I looked at as girlfriend material or future wife material. But for casual sex, this is another thing I said on that same video. I was talking about feedback I've gotten from women starting with my early to mid-20s. Here are the two biggest criticisms I've always gotten from women. Number one is they say, Alan, you are the most egotistical motherfucker I've ever met, particularly for a guy that ain't really got shit financially or materialistically to offer. I can't tell you how many women have told me that. One woman I named, well, I don't use her real name, but the woman I always refer to as Sharon, she was one of the women that told me that. I remember when we were fucking around in California, she told me that. She said, Alan, I've never met a man as cocky as you and as egotistical as you that ain't really got shit to offer in terms of money and materialistic possessions. You were like super duper cocky and egotistical. I've had literally dozens, if not hundreds of women say that about me, particularly when I was in my 20s and 30s. Women used to always say, Alan, you are like the cockiest, most egotistical motherfucker I've ever met, particularly as far as a guy who wasn't wealthy or didn't really have that much going on for him, in terms of career success and financial success. The second most thing that women used to say about me was how cheap and or how broke I was. I used to be notoriously cheap. Not just cheap, I'm talking about like notoriously cheap. Like unbelievably cheap. Matter of fact, if I'm gonna be real, do you know my current wife is one of only, I'm 58 years old, which means I've been an adult for about 40 years. Do you know in my 40 years as an adult messing around with women, my wife is one of only 2 to 3 women in my entire adult life that I would say that I've been reasonably financially generous with. She's one of only about 2, no more than 3 women over the last 40 years that I have been what you would call somewhat financially generous with. Every other woman I dealt with, and again, I said this on that video in 2017, I said just about all the women I've dealt with in my life, they spent more money on me than I did on them. They spent more money on me than I did on them. In my lifetime, I've had, if I was to do a tally up of money I spent on women versus women, how much money women, it's a no contest. Women have spent way more money on me than I've spent on them. Way more. It's not even like close. I'm a cheap motherfucker, man. Well, in my 20s and 30s, it wasn't that I chose to be cheap. I just really didn't have no money. I was literally like, most of the time I was broke. I didn't have the money to be a trick or a sugar daddy or a whiner and diner. I didn't have the money to operate like that. I was living paycheck to pay. All my money went to my bills and rent and everything else. I ain't had no money to be splurging on no bitches. What kind of women y'all messing around with when you always got to spend money on them? I mean, that's a legit question too. What kind of women y'all messing around with? Y'all must be messing around with some broke / financially desperate women if you always got to spend money on women. Real talk. I ain't trying to be insulting, but I'm being real, man. I don't mess around with no broke bitches who need money from me, man. Most of the women I've dealt with in my life, man, have been women who made 2 to 3 times as much as I did. They didn't need no money from me. I don't mess around with no broke bitches. What kind of fucking women y'all mess around with that be demanding that y'all gotta pay for their lunches and pay for their dinners and pay for everything, the bills and all that shit? Man, that's a bitch that's either broke, or if she not broke, she just a whore. That's what a whore is. A whore is a woman who demands that you pay her money in exchange for a sexual companionship. I covered that on a recent video. That's what a whore is. So you either mess around with broke bitches and or whores, which usually they one and the same. You mess around with women that are either broke or they whores. I don't mess around with no women like that, man, and that need that type of money from me. Like even my wife, to tell some of my personal business, but I think some people knew this already. My wife started off as a dating coaching client of mine. In case you didn't know that, what does that mean in simple terms? She started off paying me money. She was a dating coaching client of mine. Drops mic. So anyway, man, yeah, man, I don't know about, again, this wasn't something that was brought up by a bunch of guys. I had 2 guys over the last couple of days write me and say something about there was they asked me what my opinion was on a so-called philosophical war between guys who basically believe in spending money on women versus guys who don't. And in more simple terms, it was called the philosophical war between the tricks and the game dudes. The tricks and the game dudes. Well, I don't consider myself a game dude. I consider myself far more than a game dude. But if you want to use that term, realistically, that's the whole point of game. I mean, real talk. That's one of the points of game. Game is so you can fuck women. 2 things. Number one, when I was growing up, game, one of the purposes of having game, I already talked about this on a video, was for 2 to 3 reasons. Number one, so you can fuck a woman without having to be her boyfriend, fiance, or husband. That was the number 1 definition of game. If you were able to fuck a woman without you being her husband, fiance, or long-term boyfriend. In other words, you were able to get her to engage in casual sex with you. That meant you had game. Number 2, if you were able to fuck a woman that was out of your league, that was considered out of your league, people would say you had game. And the 3rd thing related to money is if you could fuck a woman without spending hardly any money on her, either at maximum no money at all or only a minimal amount of money. That meant you had game. If the only way you getting a woman in bed is by spending a bunch of money on her, man, then to me, you ain't got no game. Again, usually if a guy got to spend money on a woman, again, I'm not talking about occasionally. If you do spend money on women occasionally, I don't hold that against you. But I'm talking about regularly. If you regularly got to spend money on women, that means either something about your looks is fucked up or something about your mouthpiece is fucked up. Real talk. That's just real motherfucking blunt talk. That means something about your looks is fucked up or something about your mouthpiece is fucked up. I ain't never been deficient in either area. I've always been considered a handsome brother by just about every woman I've dealt with. As some guys on here on YouTube even like to call me a light-skinned pretty boy. You call me what you want, but I've always been considered a handsome motherfucker. So I ain't never been deficient. Now, physique-wise, I've had my ups and downs. I've admitted that before. Facially, I've always had the same face. But there's times I've had a lean, slender, Brad Pitt in Fight Club type physique. And then there's other times I've been chunky. So physique-wise, I've been like this. But facially, I've always been considered a handsome dude by women. So I ain't never really been deficient in terms of facial looks. And mouthpiece, shit. Baddest mouthpiece in the manosphere right here. So I ain't never had to resort to no tricking or whining and dining. But I don't even know why that's such a conversation, man. Because I've been hearing it from time to time, off and on different podcasts, live streams, people bringing up, man, fuck that shit, man. My attitude is, bitch need to be paying for my dick. She need to be paying for my time, attention, and companionship. Fuck me paying for hers. That's real talk from a cocky, egotistical brother. Y'all need to read a book I talk about, speaking of my 1999. I think I talked about this in my 2006 version of Mo 1. Talk about a book called Punished by Rewards, Alfie Kahn. That's a good book, man. That dude breaks some shit down in that book. It ain't got nothing to do with dating relationships, but it's relevant to this whole spending money on women discussion. Because what he basically says in a nutshell is that if you spend $25 on a woman, the next time you try to fuck her for $25, she's going to say, no, I want $35. Then you give her $35, the next time she's going to be like, no, I want $50. Next time you fuck her after giving her $50, she's going to be like, no, I want $75. And so on and so on. But again, before I switch to my other subject, most of y'all don't even have the balls to be a real trick. Most of y'all out here talking about tricking, y'all ain't really talking about tricking. Y'all talking about whining and dining, man. Again, if you're just talking about, like, say, taking a woman out to lunch, on a lunch date or a dinner date or a movie or a concert and paying for her meal, paying for her movie, paying for her concert ticket, that ain't tricking. That's whining and dining. Tricking is like Mo 1 hardcore, only with an offer of money. Tricking is when you go up to a woman you ain't never seen before, never met before, and you go up to her and straight up say, hey, what's your name? Linda, my name is Jonathan. I'll pay you $75 today if you suck my dick. That's tricking. How many of y'all got the balls to do that shit? You know, most of y'all here on YouTube ain't got the balls to do that shit. Y'all ain't got the balls to do that shit. You think if you go up to a street prostitute or a professional call girl and talk to her for 30 minutes, she gonna be down for that shit? Hell no, because she's losing money with that bullshit small talk. She wants you to get to the point. Anytime you deal with a professional sex worker, such as a street prostitute, a professional call girl, or an upscale erotic escort, they want you to get to the point. In other words, they want you to be Mo 1. What you offering for what? What do you want? And for what you want, what are you offering? That's all they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about the weather and what they did in high school and all that shit. If you're doing all that bullshit small talk, you ain't tricking, you whining and dining, man. Those are not the same thing, man. No matter how much y'all try to make it seem like it's the same thing, it ain't the same thing. It takes more balls to trick, man, than it does to wine and dine women. And with whining and dining, at least with tricking, on the risk side, again, in a lot of cities, it's illegal, but at least you're offering money for guaranteed pussy. See, when you wine and dine, you're spending money on the possibility of getting some pussy, which, of course, is why I wrote my book, The Possibility of Sex. You're paying a woman, you're spending money on a woman for the possibility of fucking her. Ain't nothing guaranteed. Ain't nothing guaranteed with that, which is why it could easily lead to simping. Make some mental notes of that shit and quit bothering this brother right here with this goofy ass bullshit. Niggas saying stupid shit on here talking about all men got a trick with their time and money. That's a motherfucker who only messing around with low quality street bitches. Yeah, I said it. Don't quote me on that shit. Y'all ain't bad as this motherfucker right here. Hell yeah, my ego coming out when you say stupid shit like that. Hell yeah, my ego gonna come out. You ain't as bad as this motherfucker right here. Shit. I'm selling dick. Y'all buying pussy, I'm selling dick. That's what I'm doing to women with women. I'm selling dick. Now, on this exposure thing, again, there's been murmurings, if not flat out talk, about guys, certain dating coaches. I don't want to throw out no name. I could. Couple of them been black. probably an equal, if not greater number, have been non-black guys. Some guys have been guys I've interacted with, either on a live stream, in a podcast interview. I want to say at least one I've been at a conference with. Yeah, people have been talking about so-and-so exposed, so-and-so exposed. I just want to generally talk about why here's when you're going to set yourself up to be exposed. Here's when you're going to, if you're a dating coach and or PUA, which actually I don't want to get into another digression, but technically those are different. A lot of people think those two are the same thing. They're not. A dating coach and a PUA are not exactly the same thing. In real simple terms, without going on a long digression, a PUA is somebody that teaches you how to meet a woman on the streets, or if not on the streets, how to meet a woman in a bar, restaurant, or nightclub and talk her in to having casual sex with you that same day or that same night, or if not that same day or same night, I'd say at minimum within like 3 or 4 days after you meet them. That's a PUA. Yeah, a PUA's number one focus is strictly casual sex. That's a pickup artist. Pickup artist is somebody that gives you usually pre-rehearsed lines, pre-rehearsed dialogue to use with women in order to persuade a woman to engage in casual sex with you the same day you meet them, same night you meet them, or if not the same day or same night, usually within 4 days or less after you meet them. That's a PUA. A dating coach does not strictly focus on casual sex. That's part of a dating coach's coaching is stuff to do with casual sex, but that's not his only. A dating coach will help you find your future wife, your future long-term girlfriend. They'll give you advice for different types of relationships. And they don't put any time limit. Like a dating coach is not going to give you advice specifically to fuck a woman, say in the same day or in the same night. So that's one of the minor differences between a dating coach and a PUA. But anyway, I did one video that was related to this before. I can't remember. I think it was called The Top 5 Things That PUAs Want You to Believe That You Shouldn't. Here's when you get, in a nutshell, I'm going to tell you when you're typically following a guy that's ultimately going to be exposed as a snake oil salesman or a scam artist and or a fraud. One or more of those 3 things. Snake oil salesman, scam artist, or just general fraud. Number 1, if anybody's coming at you with an attitude of, if you follow my advice, I guarantee you that you're going to get laid more than you did before you follow my advice, there's a 90 to 99% chance that guy is a scam artist, snake oil salesman, or fraud. That's number 1. Is plain and simply, if a guy is telling you, coming at you with a marketing presentation of, if you follow my advice, you are guaranteed, that's the key word, you are guaranteed to get laid more than you did before you followed my advice. 90 to 99.9% chance that guy's a snake oil salesman, a scam artist, or just an overall fraud. If you notice, like with me, I never, ever, ever guarantee any of my clients that they're going to get, that their number or percentage of sex partners is going to increase. Now, that's a possibility. I never outruled the possibility of that happening because I have had clients who have increased the number and or percentage of their lovers, casual sex lovers, as a result of following my advice. But I never guarantee that, though. I never, ever, ever guarantee that. Ever. Never guarantee that. Never guarantee that. If any guy's guaranteeing that, see, that's one of the reasons why PUA hate. I talked about this before in a video. That's one of the reasons why PUA hate was started. If you're familiar with that, some black guys are not familiar with PUA hate, but most non-black guys are. But that's why PUA hate was started around, I think, 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. It got shut down because of Elliot Rodgers murders. But that's why PUA hate existed. Because you had all these conventional PUAs guaranteeing guys that if they followed their knowledge, wisdom, insight, advice, methodology, gimmicks, techniques, etc., that they would be guaranteed to increase their number or percentage of casual sex lovers. And what happened is that most of the guys didn't. And when they wanted their money back, the PUAs would either say, I don't give refunds, or they would say, well, I'm going to give you a refund, but it's only going to be a partial refund. The guys never got a full refund. They either got no refund at all. In worst case scenario, the guys wouldn't get any refund at all, or they would only get a partial refund, like maybe a 75% refund. But the PUA would still keep 25% of what they paid. And, these guys were paying like anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 to do these Thursday through Sunday boot camps that was supposed to guarantee them that they was going to become this overnight womanizer, overnight ladies man. Man, that overnight shit is bullshit, man. It takes, man, for most guys, there's exceptions here and there. But for most guys, man, it takes weeks, months, years to develop strong game with women, man. You ain't gonna change, you ain't gonna improve like overnight unless there was one thing missing. The only guys who tend to experience what I would call overnight transformations, overnight success, is if you just had one thing missing. Like, I'll give you one example of that. I told this story before. There was a guy back in the late 80s, early 90s who used to emulate me. He wanted to emulate me. But at first he wasn't clicking with women. And he was like, damn, AC, before I was called ARC, people used to call me AC. He was like, damn, AC, man, shit just ain't clicking with me. And I said, tell me about some of the shit you saying. And he told me some stuff. And I said, damn, that shit seemed bold and straightforward. But you say you ain't clicking. He said, yeah, man, most of the women, they end up laughing at me and treat me like I'm like, a comedian or something. So I said, let me shadow you. So I shadowed him, meaning that I would follow him while he's at social events, and I'll stand a few feet away and watch everything he does, watch his body language. That's what I do with one-on-one face-to-face coaching. I watched him approach women. I tried to look for weaknesses in his body language, his demeanor and disposition, and the things he was saying. Anyway, without getting a long story, man, his main weakness was whenever he said something really, really provocative to a woman and she initially had a negative reaction, he would back down from it and apologize for it. And I was like, oh, no, dude, you can't do that. That's why if you read one of my principles in my book, man, I don't care if you say the most triple X-rated, explicit shit to a woman and say a woman starts going off on you like, I don't believe you said that to me. Oh, my God, that's disrespectful. That's insulting. And don't ever back down from shit you say. Don't ever apologize for shit you say. Ever. Ever. I never apologize. Ever. Woman's going to know you beta once you start apologizing. She's going to know right there you beta. And I touched on that in my last video, alpha versus beta. Oh, somebody asked me, Ellen, I was watching your last video, but you didn't really get around to just making it really crystal clear why presenting yourself as an alpha male is more important than a beta male. It's for everything I talked about in the first half hour of this video. Among other things, here's the two areas where whether you're perceived as alpha or beta is going to affect your interactions with a woman. Number one, financially. See, when it comes to casual sex, women ain't going to have casual sex with a woman with a man for free if she perceives you as a beta male. I've said that for years. Ain't no woman going to have casual sex with you for free if she perceives you as a beta male. That's one of the reasons why, in a nutshell, why women shit test men is to see if you're alpha or beta. Because if you beta, they ain't going to have casual sex with you for free. I thought most guys knew that. But in case you didn't know that, yeah, if a woman perceives you as a beta male, you ain't having casual sex with a woman for free. I guarantee you that. I'll bet you $10,000 on that. If a woman perceives you as a beta male, you're not having casual sex for free. You're going to have to pay some money to a woman. Only Womanizing alpha males get casual sex pussy for free. Boom. In some cases, if you're a womanizing alpha male, women will offer to pay you for your dick. That's where the concept of gigolo comes from. They'll pay you. If not directly, indirectly, like they'll pay your bills. They'll pay your car note. Something this brother's had done. Shit. That's the biggest difference. Secondly, if you're in a relationship, if you're married or in a relationship where alpha beta comes in, it's simply, it determines if a woman's going to submissively follow your lead or not. If a woman perceives you as a beta male, she ain't going to follow your lead on shit. She going to try to run that relationship. She going to try to wear the pants in the relationship. She ain't going to follow your lead. Women only follow the lead of a guy that they're convinced is a dominant alpha in the context of a marriage or a long-term relationship. Like my wife, she follows my lead on everything, man. My wife don't be challenging me on shit. We don't get into no arguments. She follows my lead on everything. Everything. So, but going back to this exposed thing, yeah, man, the overnight shit is overrated, man. It's anybody who's, again, guaranteeing you overnight results is a scam artist, snake oil salesman, fraud. Period. What's the second most? Oh, the second most thing next to guaranteeing you that you can become an overnight ladies man or overnight womanizer is guaranteeing you that you will no longer be rejected. I've heard a lot of PUAs over the years guarantee that. They'll say, if you follow my method, you'll never, ever be rejected by one. Even, I told y'all, even Mystery Method had a book initially that had the subtitle. No, I'm sorry. His subtitle was How to Get Any Beautiful Woman You Meet into Bed. Yeah, remember when I did that video? I can't remember the name of the video I did. Yeah, Eric Von Markovich, a.k.a. Mystery Method, who I actually called the GOAT of indirect game. He actually, for a period of weeks, had a book out, and his initial subtitle was The Mystery Method, and the subtitle was How to Get Any Beautiful Woman into Bed. And when I read that, I said, that's bullshit. That's false advertising. That's fraudulent, false advertising. Sure enough, a couple weeks later, man, he changed it. He changed it from how to get any beautiful woman in bed to just how to get beautiful women in bed. Let me see right now what's the. But yeah, man. So next to guaranteeing overnight success, second most thing, guys, guaranteeing guys that you'll rarely, if ever, get rejected if you follow. That's bullshit. All men are going to get rejected by women that are not interested in them. Period. Period. Matter of fact, since we talked about spending money on women in this video, if you took away, let's say it was totally illegal to offer women money in exchange for sex. It was just, well, in some cities it is illegal. Trick. Let's say it's absolutely positively illegal. And the only way you can get women in bed is with a combination of your looks, your confidence and masculinity, and overall masculine sex appeal, and your mouthpiece. Man, there would be a lot of motherfuckers getting rejected left and right, 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 left and right. Come on, man. Wake up. The reason why whores exist is so that men who are lacking in the looks department or lacking in the mouthpiece department can get some pussy and not go crazy. That's the whole reason why whores exist. Yeah, man, see, I don't guarantee any of those things. I don't guarantee men that they're going to become an overnight ladies man or overnight womanizer. I don't guarantee men that they're going to, I for damn sure don't guarantee men that they're not going to experience rejection. Matter of fact, I teach men how to accept and deal with rejection. That's one of the things I do in my coaching, is teach men how to accept and deal with rejection. You ain't going to be able to be successful being more one if you can't handle being rejected. That's just flat out real talk. You ain't never going to be able to be Mode 1 on a regular, consistent basis if you can't handle being rejected, and more specifically, handle being rejected in a quick, abrupt, straightforward, and even harsh manner. If you can't handle harsh, quick, abrupt rejections, you shouldn't even try to adopt the Mode 1 lifestyle, because you're going to be a depressed motherfucker. That's why I say Mode 1 ain't for everybody. Mode 1 ain't for everybody, man. You can't have no fragile ego or emotionally sensitive thin skin and be Mode 1. It ain't for you. That's what indirect is for. Guys with fragile egos and emotionally sensitive thin skin. That's what indirect is for. Mode 1 ain't for you, bro. Real talk. See, I'm going to wrap up on this because I'm running out of time. Here's what guys need to understand about my Mode 1 approach. Now, I preface it by saying I do have some clients, at least probably, I ain't going to lie, about no less than 50 to 55% of my clients are guys who've regularly had problems getting laid, and I try to help those guys. But really, Mode 1 wasn't for guys who just like couldn't get laid at all. See, like a lot of guys who follow conventional PUAs were typically guys who just had problems getting laid, period. That weren't the guys who initially came to me. The guys who came to me, like you take me, I'll start with myself. Before I start being Mode 1 with women, I was getting laid. It wasn't like I was this like loser type dude. Like y'all know the stories from my senior in high school. Shit, man, I was getting pussy left and right from bitches, man. Women was throwing pussy to me like frisbees. Shout out to Eddie Murphy. They was throwing frisbees at me, man. I was getting so much pussy, man. So I wasn't the motherfucker who was having problems getting laid. My issue was I was running into a lot of women who were disingenuous flirts, cock teasers, dick teasers, and just overall manipulative time wasters. That was my main issue. I was running into a lot of women that were disingenuous flirts, cock teasers, and other variations of a manipulative time waster. And I was tired of that shit. And that's most of my initial clients were guys who fell into that category. Were not guys who were just, for lack of a better word, losers with women, but it was more. I give you a classic example. Classic example is this guy named, I mentioned him a couple times before, guy named Jesse. He did when I spoke in Manhattan in July 2013, I had some guys get up at my speaking presentation and give testimonials about Mode 1. And one guy, his name was Jesse, he said, I'm going to skip over some things he said in his testimony, but essentially he said, I'm going to start off by saying Mode 1 has not helped me get laid with more women. He said that at the beginning of his testimony. He said, Mode 1, I got good news and bad news. I'm starting with the bad news first. He said, Mode 1 has not helped me get laid with more women. And of course, a few guys in the audience kind of looked disappointed. He said, if I had to give a rough average, he said, when I was being Mode 2 with women, he said, I was probably fucking an average of about 3 out of every 10 women I met, which is a good percentage. That's 30%, which is higher than the average guy. But he said, when I was being Mode 2 with women, he said, I was probably fucking about 3 out of every 10 women I met. He said, since I've switched to Mode 1, it's probably about the same. He said, it's probably about the same. He said, it might be a little bit higher. It might be now 3.5 out of every 10 women I meet. But he said, it's about the same. He said, here's has been the biggest difference between me being Mode 2 with women and being Mode 1 with women. He said, in respect to the women who I'm fucking, the biggest benefit is I don't invest as much time or as much money. That's what he said. I don't invest as much time or as much money. And I'm saying that emphatically, going back to this black male YouTube content creator who said all men, when it comes to casual sex, either going to trick with their time or money. That's basically what Jesse in New York said. He said, I don't spend as much time with women before I fuck them, and I don't spend as much money on women as I did when I was Mode 2. He said, now I'm fucking a lot of women for free. without spending hardly any time with them non-sexually. Boom. Secondly, he said, even more importantly, he said the thing that Mo 1 has helped me the most is not to do with those 3 or 3.5 women that I'm fucking, but to do with that 7 women that I'm not fucking. 6.5 to 7 women I'm not fucking. He basically said, I'm paraphrasing the word somewhat, but he said, see, before, when I was Mo 2, I ended up wasting a lot of time and money with women who never, ever ended up giving me the pussy. In other words, manipulative time wasters. He said, I ended up spending a lot of time and money with women who ultimately never ended up giving me the pussy. He said, with Mo 1, man, I quickly identify and weed those women out with a quickness. I'm able to identify and weed those women out with a quickness. I've had a lot of my clients say that. That's the closest thing I would give a man to a guarantee. When you Mo 1, I can't guarantee you'll be an overnight ladies man, overnight womanizer. I can't guarantee that your number or percentage of rejections will go down. But here's what I will pretty much guarantee. When you Mo 1 with women, you ain't gonna never waste time or money on a woman that's a manipulative time waster, on a woman that's a disingenuous flirt, a cock teaser, or any other variation of a manipulative time waster. You'll never, ever do that. And I've never had one client ever complain that he had that problem.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with Alan Roger Currie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God!
Currie guys, man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Some guys have natural handles. Some guys have a better natural shot, but you can always improve your shot. And sex is damn sure something you can fucking learn. Look, dude, you want to learn how to talk better? I'm hiring Alan Roger Currie to get my dirty talk game on, because it's always been something I want to get better at.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy's the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, you know, come on now.